My name is Marianne Hughes. I'm in Houston. I'm a mom of two boys on the autism spectrum. They're now ages 20 and 22. And several years ago, I was faced with divorce after 21 years of marriage. It wasn't something I expected or saw coming, but it happened, and I had to figure out how to deal with it and what to do and how to advocate for my children. And it was a long, hard road getting through the divorce and getting a good result for my kids. But I did, in the end, actually have to go to trial, which I don't, hopefully wasn't the case for you all. But I did get a great result. And a lot of that was based on what I did in the process and how I connected with resources and did the work to make sure that the team that I worked with and throughout the process, everybody understood what my kids needed and the cost of what's involved, what to plan for the future. I saw this as not just a divorce, dealing with it now, but also as a life care plan and something I had to plan for the future. So it's a little different approach as some people are used to or want to admit to, that they need to look at in a special needs type of divorce. But for me, that's one of the most important things that I help my clients with, is to look at what they need now as well as in the future and make plans to get there. And so as part of my process, it took a lot of time, money, and effort to get to the result that I did. I decided that other people shouldn't have to recreate the wheel and spend as much time, money, and effort as I had to do to get where I was and advocate for my kids. So I decided I'm going to help other people. I decided to become a coach and start my own company, my own business called Special Family Transitions. And so my mission is to help other special needs moms get through divorce, through the overwhelm, and all the things they have to learn and do to get a good result for themselves and for their child. I know a lot of times we talk about getting a good result for our kids, and this is kind of what this webinar is about, but we don't want to forget about ourselves, taking care of ourselves and making sure that our needs are met as well. When I was going through my process, not knowing what to do first, so I got a lawyer and gave them the retainer and thinking they would handle everything. Well, several months go by and money's being spent and legal bills add up and still not much is happening. And I felt like something was missing, that something, wasn't quite right, that there was more I had to do. So I remember sitting there in my car and carpooling, waiting for my son to get out of school, thinking there's got to be more. There's got to be something that I'm missing, something that I need to be doing. How is it that I can share with my attorney, who said they had to handle some special needs cases, but maybe not one like mine, which was complex for a lot of reasons. And every special needs child is different and every divorce is different. But I just didn't feel like my needs and my kids' needs were being addressed. And so it occurred to me as I'm sitting in the car that I need help. Just meeting my lawyer is not enough to get this done. And so I thought back to somebody I had met at a resource fair who had talked about doing some planning for special needs families. I thought, okay, I need to maybe reach out to this person. So I actually looked up his number while I'm in the car and called him, got through, and he personally wasn't able to help me because he was close to retiring, but he connected me with some other people. And that got me on the path and the process to find people who could help me advocate. And that's what got me on the path of success. And so that's definitely what I recommend, is that was my turning point in my divorce, to take action and take charge of what was happening to me and to my kids in my divorce. And so I put together a team of people, and that's helped me to get to where I am today, successful in terms of getting child support for both my kids. I had to show what their needs were. And so I'm here to show you kind of how to do that. And then we can discuss in more detail if you want to set up a call afterwards as well. There's a lot to figure out, but you don't have to do it alone. I had to learn the hard way on my own. I learned what to do and what not to do. And so I can also share with you the potential pitfalls to avoid. And so it took me over 2 years, lots of money and energy, but through my process, I did get a good result. And thinking back to everything that I did learn through my personal process, as well as going through my divorce coach training and attending so many divorce informational sessions and working on my skills and knowledge in the field, I came up with a system that I call RISE, that can help people to get through divorce and figure out what to do and how to carry themselves and communicate and have the best situation possible with their either high conflict or any kind of spouse or ex-spouse they may be dealing with. And so this helped me, the whole process from the journey. I see divorce kind of as a journey. You start one space and then you kind of hopefully grow and develop and learn things along the way. And in the process, you learn and grow yourself as well. And so I'm a lot more confident. I became more confident throughout my process and much more confident now. And so know that divorce is a journey and that there is an end point. You'll get there. So just, want to get through it, get the help you need. And this is your kind of your one shot to get it right. Granted, you can always go back for modification, but it's better to try to get things right now rather than have to go through this process again later. So RISE is the framework I came up with for keys to success in a special needs divorce. And I picked the word RISE because it was something that was special to me. I felt like I had to rise above in my divorce and kind of rise above the petty things and be my best self and be my best self for me and for my kids. And so I thought about all the different aspects that went into what I had to do in my divorce. And I was able to put words together that kind of fit this acronym. So R is for recognize and resolve. I is identify and investigate. S is for self-care, support, secure team, and special needs considerations. And E is express, execute, and embrace. Now, I'm not going to go through all of these today. I did create a course that takes you through all of these aspects of divorce and how to have success in your situation. So I tried to combine all the knowledge that I had and put it together in a easy to use, self-paced 1-hour course altogether. It takes only 1 hour, but it takes you through all the different steps. And I have examples and I have little worksheets as well. So if you are interested in that, my team will post the link in the chat. And also I'm happy to offer a discount code webinar off the very low price that I've already set it at. So feel free to take a look at that if you haven't already done so. And I can follow up with you as well about that. In terms of the first step, so I'm going to share with you those 4 keys to advocate for your kids. So a lot of RISE has to do with that, but I'm going to pull out just 4 today, 1 from each letter that we'll discuss, and we can I'll be happy to take questions at the end as well. And so we want to resolve to get a great outcome for our kids and for ourselves. And a lot of people, overwhelmed by divorce and want to just get it over with quickly. My advice is look at it as a business transaction. It's a legal and financial transaction at the end of the day is what divorce is. I mean, there's so much emotion involved and so much else that that becomes part of it that you will need to work through. And I'm not saying it's an easy process by any means, but try to make the best decisions in divorce. Sometimes we're so caught up in the emotion that we're not thinking in terms of the best long-term decisions. So that's why it helps to have a coach or other people that you can trust and talk to kind of get past the emotional side and have your rational brain kind of take over as opposed to the emotional side. It's important to get the information we need. You may not know what your rights are or what your child is entitled to. As somebody mentioned, there's in Texas, we have certain ways to do things and other states are different. But like in Texas, for instance, you may be entitled to lifelong child support. And the needs for our kids are not going to go away. In different states, things are done differently, but you're going to have to show your child's disability and what their needs are. So it's important to know that. And somebody mentioned too about benefits. You'll want to know how to protect those benefits and how you need to do that as part of the process. But importantly is you want to gain the confidence to advocate for yourself and for your child. This is not a time to kind of sit back and let the lawyers do everything. I mean, granted, you have a team and people that you're working with, but in the day, you're the one in charge. You're the one that sets the tone for the divorce and gives direction as to how you'd like it to be. And then my second point is to investigate programs and costs. You mentioned about Brookwoods, which is the premier place around here in my area for where once they reach adulthood that individuals with disabilities can go as a residential program. They also have day programs. And so that's just an example of things you'll want to look at, whether your child is young and currently in school, or maybe public school, maybe private school. It may be that they're going to therapy. Maybe they need special foods, or maybe they need respite care or caregiving things or medical needs. So look at what costs you're facing right now and kind of put those together. Sometimes we don't think about that till, we have to put pen to paper. But these numbers add up. Figure out maybe how much is covered by insurance and how much you're paying out of pocket. All those things are really important to think about. And then think about, as your child gets older, where are they going to go? Whether it's school or placements after they turn 18 or 22 when they age out of school. And so figure out, different things, visit different places, different schools, get different cost estimates so that you have information to discuss with your soon to be ex or with your ex and your team to try to put together a plan and numbers so that when you're having discussions, whether it's negotiations or whatever that might look like, that you have numbers to work with. I know for me personally, it was hard at first to even know what to ask for, what to accept until I had a good handle on this. And that's where I needed to get the help to be able to come up with numbers like, okay, well, this number would work for me or this number would not work. And then for the third tip is secure a team. You don't want to go at this alone. It's overwhelming. There's so much to know and do and to deal with as well. And so you want to find professionals who understand and have experience with special needs cases so that they can help you advocate for your child's needs and for you, as well as protect their eligibility for benefits in the future. Tony mentioned that they don't quite have or don't have full amount of SSI or other benefits yet. Well, we also mentioned a trust, which is great. So there's different ways that we can set things up in the divorce decree and set things up even before the divorce and after the divorce so that the child is protected and their benefits are protected in the future. So you don't want the situation where they're getting SSI or getting something and then get child support and then they become disqualified because they get over $2,000, whatever number that might be in the future, that disqualifies them for government benefits. So that's the most important thing, is make sure that things are done in a way that's going to protect them now and in the future. So that may be your family law attorney. There's estate planning attorneys, are the ones that put together the trust. There's financial planners, chartered financial planners that's focused on special needs. We've got one on the line today. And then there's divorce financial analysts, all kinds of people who are there to possibly help you. There's divorce coach like myself. I'm actually one of the very few who specializes in special needs. I'm the only one who does it exclusively. There's other divorce coaches out there who I've met through my experience, but I am so proud that this is my area of focus, and that's what I do. And then in terms of mental health professionals, sometimes you may need assistance or counseling for yourself and for your kids, but sometimes we need them as experts in our cases to show disability or be experts if you're having a trial, things like that. So there's all kinds of people who are there to help you, who have experience, and you'll find that family law attorneys maybe don't have that experience. So it's important to find someone who does. And I can help refer you to people who, at least in my area, have that experience, and I'm part of networks across the country, and I can connect you with people there as well. And then for the last tip, is how you express yourself in divorce is really important. Some of you have talked about high conflict people. And so it's really important that you communicate with your ex or soon to be ex, as well as with your legal team and other people that you're working with in a confident, calm, professional manner. That carries a lot of weight to how people perceive you and how seriously you be taken and how effective you can be in what you're asking for. And so there's a method called BIF. Not sure if you all have heard of that. It's developed by a gentleman named Bill Eddy. And it stands for brief, informative, friendly, and firm. And so you'd like all your communications to kind of follow that format. So some people for high conflict situations may have heard of gray rock or yellow rock or things like that. It's another way of kind of saying those things, but we want to be able to communicate so that we're saying what we need, but having it be effective and not get into the emotional side of it. And just, you want to be there to express your needs, because you're not just your advocate, but your child's advocate. They're looking to you to be their voice in this process. So definitely communicate their needs. I think that will definitely help you a lot in that respect. I'm just curious as to what your favorite discussion points have been from today's meeting.
I think it was fantastic. I love how you organized it, Marianne. Like, first of all, the rise, the word is just so encouraging, right? And it's totally what I went through, similar to what you went through, and a lot of ladies on the call. And to really chunk it up, because it is so overwhelming, and to chunk it up into activity. First, focus on what your goals are. Focus on what you need to get there. Focus on, otherwise it's just a soup of things flying around. And you are, awesome in the field, and that you're a coach for special needs. You and I have a similar passion. We both went through the divorce coaching program. I'm a CDFA, certified divorce financial analyst, and a chartered special needs consultant. And I did it just because I had a child on the spectrum getting divorced, and it was very overwhelming. There's people out here, I think that the world around divorce and litigation is changing. And I think there are a lot more advocates to help us, navigate the process better. And with a more holistic sort of approach, like longer term planning and the needs of the children being on the forefront, more so than, staunch litigation. I think that's really important. And there are people out there that are trying to get the word out, and Marianne's one of them. So I'm really glad that you did this, and I love the way you chunked it up. It's perfect. Yeah, it's great.
Thank you, Donna. I appreciate that. And so as Donna mentioned, there is, divorce is a journey, and you do have to have goals. And so know what your goals are. What is it that you want? Are you, because everyone has going to have a different goal. It could be financial, it could be security for your child, but it could also be maintaining the relationship post-divorce. And so you want to kind of consider all those things as you're figure out how to proceed in your divorce. There's ways to make it more high conflict or less conflict. So, it's all a matter of what you like and what you want your life and your child's life to look like afterwards as well. Anybody else want to share?
Joelle has shared that she's really pleased that you've got a network that you can support her with getting some contacts across the country, because she is struggling to get someone to go to bat for her and her family in court, or even to acknowledge the issues that they're facing.
Okay, great. I'm happy to connect with you because I'm part of networks across the country and definitely can get you some resources in your geography. If I could have one of my women read my testimonial, to kind of give you an idea about what I do and how I do it and how my clients benefit from my work.
I'm happy to read your testimonial. This is beautiful. Marianne was very approachable, calming, and understanding of my feelings and needs. She understood where I was coming from and where I needed to focus. She discussed many different scenarios, some of which I'd never even thought of myself, and made recommendations of where to start. She made me feel like I'm in control now, and finally have someone on my side that understands my feelings. I encourage other special needs parents to reach out to Marianne when they seek advice for a divorce involving a special needs child or adult. There is so much to know and learn. Often there's little free time to do this research ourselves as parents whose main focus is caring for a special needs child. I'm grateful that Marianne has chosen this path to help guide others on this journey. And this is from Kim R.
Yeah, thanks so much for reading that for me.
Do you mind if I share something, Marianne? This is something I keep posted, and I think you'll appreciate it. And ladies on this call, I keep it on my laptop, my computer here. It says, and when you get to where you're going, turn around and help her too, for there was a time not long ago when she was you. And that's, I think, what motivates me, because I'm, and yourself, to help people during that time, because we were there, we remember. And
exactly, it's a hard thing, and I don't want people to have to go through and recreate the wheel again. I mean, it took so much time, money, and effort. I mean, it took me 2 years for many reasons, and lots and lots of money. I won't even tell you how much it cost, and that wasn't the intent to spend a lot of money or time, but it was important to me to advocate for my kids and what they needed. And so I'm proud of what I went through and proud of what I learned and accomplished for my kids. And that's what brought me to this now, to be able to share and help other people. And so I invite you to, if you want to find out more about ways I can help, I can do a free 30-minute discovery call. to explain RISE a little bit more and what I can do and just answer some questions so we can learn more about each other and see if we're fit to work together. So I've set up some time in my calendar. So feel free to click on the link that will be put in the chat, and feel free to set up some time, see what works in your schedule. If you don't see a time that works for you, then definitely reach out. I'll put my email on there as well. We can definitely set up a time for us to meet and talk. I just want to share my website with you, specialfamilytransitions.com. My email is Marianne at Special Family Transitions. And if you haven't already found me on social media, my handle is at Special Family Transitions across social media. I have a Facebook group, Instagram, YouTube channel with a lot of helpful videos as well. And I just started TikTok. On LinkedIn, you can find me at Special Family Transitions, as well as through my name, Marianne Hughes, I post a lot of things there directly as well. But as much as you can, as a mom, and get experts as well. I think it's very important, whether you're doing this on your own or with a team, or if you have other parties in place, is show what your child's needs are. We talked about that a little bit, but it's so important to show a day in the life. This is how my morning starts. This is how it ends. And these are all the things that have to happen. Sometimes they may not have a full appreciation for all the things that we go through, all the things, not just financially, but just the steps we have to go through every day as a parent of a child with special needs. Some people have exposure to that and some people don't. And for a guardian ad litem or attorneys or law judges don't really have much experience there either. And so you want to kind of set the scene, create the story of what your life is like, what your child needs, and how they either communicate or behave or learn, and challenges involved every day for you and for that child. And I think that carries a lot of weight in that. I can tell you that a friend of mine, someone I know, did go to mediation, and she was able to get a good result because she, to the nth degree, broke down that child's needs in terms of what they needed to the dollar. I mean, she broke down everything from medicine to clothing to special adaptive aids and so on. And so the mediator could see this is real. These we're not just asking for money just to have it, but we're asking for it because our child needs it. Somebody asked about ongoing support and funding residential or post high school placements. Well, show them what the needs are, that they're going to need support. They're going to need someone taking care of them in the future, even when we can't, whether we choose to have them at home or not. At some point, they're not going to be able to live with us because we're going to be too old to take care of their needs. And so we've got to show what those options are, especially if we're not on the list yet for waivers or government programs that will fund those. Sometimes we may not want the ones that are funded. Those are not maybe what we want for our family, for our child, and for our needs and for their needs. And so we have to look at private placements, and those do cost a lot of money. And that's honestly why my divorce took so long, because I had to show those costs and research those programs. And both my kids were on, as I mentioned, opposite ends, and each of their programs and needs were so different. And so I had to research, each of those for both of them as to what their future might look like. And so it's hard when they're young to kind of think that way. But this kind of got me into the transition process earlier than I had anticipated, thinking, okay, what's going to happen? When they're out of school, and what's a program for them afterwards, and even, when I'm gone. And we talked about setting up trusts and setting up money so that when you're not there, that there is money to provide for their needs that won't be lost because of, government regulations and so on. So there's so much involved that it gets so complicated. That's why you want a team of experts to, help you kind of think through these things and make sure that it's done, correctly, in terms of the legal side, financial side, all those areas. I hope that answers your question. So I'm happy to discuss in more detail your specific situation later as well. Advocating for kids is something that we need to do, and in helping them through the process as well. I created in my divorce something called a social story, which I have a video on my YouTube channel about how you can prepare kids for the changes they're going to be going through. Because a lot of times kids are, interested. Their main concern is what's going to happen to me. right? What's in it for me? How is this going to affect my life? What can I expect from each parent? Where am I going to be each day? What are my expectations? And so you want to prepare them for the changes happening. I'd also recommend sharing the information with the school, because you want everyone on board as to what's happening with your child, so that in case they see any behaviors or things that are different, they know kind of why that's happening. It may raise some behavior issues, aggression, different things for different children, and different anxiety. Try to help them best you can. Sometimes professional help is also a good idea, but sometimes it's hard to get professional help depending on where they are with their disability. I know that was the case for one of my kids, where I couldn't find a therapist who would work with him. So I created a social story for them. But also another thing that I did in my advocacy and my training is I was in a group called Lone Star Lend. And they have different groups across the country as part of this organization. We learned all about disabilities and different things involved in that. And part of it was doing a service learning project. And so I took my passion and created a project that I got team members to help me with. And so I'm proud to share that on YouTube. If you search Lone Star Lend divorce, there'll be a series of webinars that we recorded that we created as a part of our project with the top mental health professionals in Houston about how to take care of yourself and your kids, and how to support your neurodiverse kids during divorce. And so I think that's really valuable, because there's hardly enough resources for parents to get through it, but there's even less for children. And so check out those videos, and I'll do more on my end as well in the future about helping the kids directly. But I think it's important to know how to best support them as they're going through, because it's a big change for them as well. This is not something that's easy for anybody, for parents, but it's very difficult for the kids in a lot of cases. And so the better relationship you can have with your ex, the better off everyone will be. Everyone has different parenting styles, but if you can kind of get on board and agree on what's best for the child, hopefully everybody will then do that. And with a high conflict, they may or may not, but know that you can only control yourself, but you can definitely put things out there and do it in such a way that shows what's in the best interest of the child, and hopefully they'll be on board with that. So an example of helping the kids is like having a calendar and showing which days they'll be with mom, which days will be with dad. Having a regular schedule is helpful. I can tell you my case, that's not the way it is. And so, but it's good as much as you can to get advance notice, prepare the child for when they're going to be with each parent and the changes happening in their life, and let them know that they're still loved. They still, love mom and dad. And even though they may not live together, their life is a little bit different in some ways, but let them know that they are loved and they're taken care of no matter whose house they're at. And so that's why we do this, to help our kids. And that's why we go through this effort in advocating for ourselves and for our family to get through this process, and making sure that we have a good result, so that our kids can not just survive, but also thrive and have a great life post-divorce. So with that, I'd love to
Marianne, I have a question. So first of all, thank you for this. This has been an amazing presentation. I'm curious if you can share with us how you felt before and after, because what I can imagine is that not only for your children, this is obviously a very traumatic, and you mentioned, it took you a couple of years, but I'm curious what you went through, like where you were, how you were feeling at the beginning of it, and how you're feeling now, knowing that you were able to advocate so well for your children. What was the difference in you?
That's a great question. Thanks for asking that, Mahara. So yeah, at first, I did, it came as a shock, and it wasn't something I expected. I expected that, because I had been out of the workforce for a lot of years taking care of my kids. And so I didn't plan on what my life would look like in a different situation. And so I didn't really know how to respond at first, but what I did make a decision really quickly is that my kids depended on me, and everything that I did in this divorce and how I carried myself would be for them, to set an example for them, to be a role model for them, and to do whatever I needed to do so that they could have what they needed now and in the future. And so granted, first, it was a scary thing. Didn't know where to turn, what to do first, and figure out how to get there. But over time, I learned to trust in myself, to advocate for myself and for my kids. And I developed the strength and resiliency to get me to where I am today. And so, yeah, I'm a different person than I was 2 years ago. And so the good news is that, it may be overwhelming now. You may not think you can do it, but you can. You are strong and you can do it, and your kids are counting on you. So you better do it. So, whatever, ends up happening, if you don't get the exact result that you want or that you're asking for, no, that's okay. I can give you an example of someone I worked with recently. Her mediation didn't go, she didn't get everything she wanted, but I can tell you that she's in a much better place now. Her son is doing really well, and she's even found someone to date. And so sometimes unexpected things happen. I'm not saying that's not my goal. I'm not dating. That's not, I'm focused on my kids and my business. But, if things happen, there's a time for everything. And so know that things will happen. Do all you can. And just know that with the right help and resources, you can get a great result for you and for your family, and grow and transform and come out the other side in a way that you and your kids will be proud of. My son says to me all the time, Mommy, you're a different person now than you were before. And so that to me is like the best part of this. He's big, my biggest fan, cheering section for me in terms of what I do now and what what he sees. And I never, part of the process, disparage his dad. And I would share that as well, is that, the kids are looking to you. You're their example. They want to know that they're loved, and then they don't want to, they're half mom and half dad. So if you speak, they hear something bad about dad, they take that and internalize that as a reflection on themselves. And so as you're having communications with your lawyers or other people, make sure your kids aren't around, even if you're not, saying anything directly, about your ex. And so these are adult discussions, and even for adult children, you don't need to be involved. So I would say, spend time with your kids, make time for them, because this is, so consuming for all our energy. And so make time for your kids. That's one of the things that therapists talked about, is make it a special time to spend with your kids. Do what they want to do, and then separate that from your business of divorce, where divorce coaches can help, and other people as well.
Well, thank you, Marianne. That was wonderful. I learned so much. Just thank you for sharing.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, because it's warms my heart to help people and to get them on a path to get a good result for them and for their family. It's a scary time. No one wants to go through divorce, or if they do, it's because they need to for whatever reason. And so whether it's something that you initiate or somebody else initiate, know that there is light at the end of the tunnel. It is a journey. We want to set goals and get through that and come out the other side much better than we started. Thank you all for your time, and thank you so much for my wing women and for everyone who participated today. It means a lot to me. I will send the recording to everyone, and happy to follow up and help you in your divorce and your challenges.